Tonight, you're not the hero. You won't charge into battle with a shining sword. You won't defeat a legendary enemy. No one will sing songs about your name. Instead, you'll spend an ordinary day inside a samurai castle where life is ruled by quiet footsteps, endless rituals, and strict discipline. The walls around you are thick enough to stop arrows. The wooden floors are designed to squeak on purpose, revealing unwanted visitors. Outside, guards stand watch beneath tiled roofs while the wind carries the scent of pine forests across the hills. It sounds peaceful until you realize that every bow must be perfectly timed, every word carefully chosen, every mistake remembered. Tonight we'll slowly wander through hidden corridors, silent gardens, armories packed with polished weapons, smoky kitchens feeding hundreds of people, and private rooms where powerful lords make decisions that could change an entire province. You'll discover what servants feared, what samurai secretly worried about, why castles were built almost like giant puzzles, and how a peaceful evening could suddenly become a desperate fight for survival. So dim the lights, relax your shoulders, and let yourself drift into one very long, very quiet day inside a samurai castle. Before we settle into tonight's journey, take a moment to get comfortable. Maybe adjust your pillow, pull the blanket a little closer, and let the sounds of the day slowly fade into the background. If you enjoy slow, relaxing history that helps you unwind and drift off to sleep, you're in exactly the right place. Tonight, we're stepping inside a samurai castle, not during a famous battle or a dramatic siege, but during an ordinary day. We'll quietly explore its winding corridors, peaceful gardens, hidden rooms, busy kitchens, and guarded towers, discovering how hundreds of people lived behind these mighty walls. Along the way, you'll hear about ancient traditions, surprising castle designs, strict rules of samurai life, and the small, everyday routines that history books often overlook. So before we begin, if you're enjoying this peaceful journey, consider taking a moment to like the video and subscribe for more relaxing history adventures. And if you'd like, let me know where you're listening from tonight. It's always wonderful to see how many different corners of the world gather here too, travel through history together. Now, take one slow, deep breath. Let your eyes grow a little heavier, and together, let's quietly step through the castle gates as a new day begins in feudal Japan. The castle wakes with the sun. The first rays of sunlight creep over the distant hills, turning the gray roof tiles into shimmering shades of gold. The morning mist that clung to the moat begins to dissolve, revealing the full size of the castle grounds. From above, it would resemble a carefully arranged puzzle, with each building, bridge, and courtyard serving a purpose that has been refined over generations. Unlike the noisy cities of Europe during the same period, a Japanese castle does not awaken in chaos. There are no crowded marketplaces inside the inner walls, no merchants shouting for customers, and no carts rattling over cobblestones. Instead, the morning begins with quiet order. Servants are already hard at work. Some carry fresh water from deep wells, balancing heavy wooden buckets across their shoulders. Others kneel on polished wooden floors, wiping away every trace of dust before their superiors begin the day's duties. Even a single fallen leaf in the wrong place can attract unwanted attention. Nearby, the kitchens slowly come alive. Large iron pots are placed over open fires. Rice is carefully measured, vegetables are chopped with remarkable speed, and fish delivered before dawn is prepared for breakfast. The smell of steaming rice drifts through the cool morning air, mixing with the faint scent of burning cedar wood. Hundreds of mouths must be fed every day, not just samurai. The castle is home to cooks, scribes, stable workers, gardeners, blacksmiths, servants, priests, messengers, and countless laborers whose names rarely appear in history books. Together, they keep the entire fortress functioning like the gears of an enormous clock. In another courtyard, young pages hurry across the stone paths carrying neatly folded documents. Messages arrive constantly from nearby villages, neighboring castles, and government officials. Every letter is handled with care, sealed with wax or folded according to strict custom. A careless mistake in delivering a message could create confusion or worse, dishonor. The guards have changed shifts. Fresh soldiers now stand beneath the gates, alert despite the early hour. Their armor is clean, their spears upright, and their eyes constantly scanning the roads beyond the walls. Most mornings are uneventful. That is exactly how they prefer them. Peace is valuable, but everyone understands it can disappear without warning. As you continue walking through the castle grounds, you notice something unusual about the buildings themselves. The residences of high-ranking samurai sit closer to the center, protected by several layers of walls and gates. Lower-ranking retainers live farther away, while storage buildings filled with rice, weapons, and supplies occupy carefully chosen locations that would remain accessible even during a siege. Nothing here is accidental. Every path gently bends. Every doorway limits visibility. Every bridge can become a defensive position if necessary. Even beauty serves a purpose. The carefully shaped pine trees provide shade but never enough cover for an intruder to hide unnoticed. Gravel courtyards crunch beneath every footstep, quietly announcing anyone who passes. Decorative palms reflect the surrounding buildings, allowing observant guards to notice movement without turning their heads. By now, the sun has climbed higher into the sky. The castle feels fully awake, not loud, not hurried, simply alive with countless routines unfolding all at once. To an outsider, it may appear peaceful, but beneath that calm surface lies constant preparation, quiet discipline, and the understanding that every ordinary morning is also another day to be ready for the unexpected. By mid-morning, attention quietly shifts toward the most important person inside the castle, the Daimyo. Everything here revolves around him, yet you won't find him standing proudly on a balcony. Real Daimyo valued privacy and security far more than dramatic displays. His residence sits deep within the castle's inner compound, protected by several gates, winding corridors, and trusted retainers. Even senior samurai must announce themselves before entering. As you walk closer, the atmosphere changes. Voices grow softer, footsteps become quieter. The buildings are more elegant than anywhere else in the castle. Polished wooden floors reflect the morning light, while painted sliding doors and golden folding screens display cranes, pine forests, and mountain landscapes. These decorations are not simply beautiful, they quietly demonstrate wealth, refinement, and authority. Servants move silently through the halls. One carefully arranges a single flowering branch inside a simple vase. Japanese aesthetics often favor balance and simplicity over excessive decoration. Soon, senior retainers begin arriving for the morning audience. Each man kneels neatly upon the tatami mats, sitting perfectly still while waiting. Their swords remain at their sides, a reminder that even during peaceful meetings, they are warriors first. At last, the sliding doors open. Without fanfare, the daimyo enters and calmly takes his place. Every person bows deeply. No one speaks until invited. Respect is shown through silence as much as through words. The meeting begins with reports from across the domain. Officials describe rice harvests, tax collections, repairs to bridges and roads, weather conditions, and messages from neighboring lords. News of wandering bandits or unusual activity is also carefully discussed. The daimyo listens patiently. When he finally speaks, his instructions are short and clear. Years of discipline have taught everyone exactly what is expected. Attendants quietly serve fresh tea, placing each cup with practiced precision. Even the smallest movement follows proper etiquette. Beyond the audience chamber, the castle continues its daily routine. Children study reading and swordsmanship. Blacksmiths shape glowing steel. Gardeners trim ancient pine trees, and messengers ride through the gates carrying sealed letters. Life appears calm, yet every decision made inside this peaceful room may affect thousands of farmers, soldiers, merchants, and families living beyond the castle walls. Leadership here is rarely loud. It is measured, patient, and deeply disciplined. The daimyo knows that protecting his people requires more than strength. It demands careful judgment, steady nerves, and the wisdom to prepare for dangers that may never come. Inside a samurai castle, quiet decisions often prove far more powerful than drawn swords. While the daimyo finishes his morning audience, the castle's samurai are already deep into their daily routines. Despite what many films suggest, they do not spend every hour practicing sword fights or preparing for battle. Most days are surprisingly ordinary, filled with responsibility, discipline, and endless repetition. Across the castle grounds, small groups of samurai gather in open courtyards. Some wear full armor for inspection, while others dress in lighter clothing suitable for training. Each carefully checks his equipment before the day begins. A loose strap today could become a deadly mistake tomorrow. Helmets are examined for cracks. Bowstrings are tested. Spear shafts are inspected for splinters. Even the famous katana receives careful attention. The blade is wiped clean, lightly oiled, and returned to its scabbard with deliberate care. A samurai's sword is more than a weapon. It is a symbol of honor, expected to remain in perfect condition. Training begins without shouting. Archers step forward one by one, drawing long yumi bows with smooth, practiced movements. The arrows fly with a soft whistle before striking wooden targets placed across the field. Nearby, another group practices with spears. Unlike the dramatic sword duels of popular stories, spears were often more practical on the battlefield. Their longer reach allowed soldiers to keep enemies at a safer distance, making them one of the most valuable weapons in feudal Japan. In another corner of the yard, experienced instructors quietly correct a student's posture. A slight adjustment to the feet or shoulders can improve both balance and speed. The lesson is repeated again and again until it becomes second nature. Patience is considered just as important as strength. Many young samurai began their education as children. Along with martial skills, they study reading, writing, poetry, history, and calligraphy. A respected warrior is expected to master both the sword and the brush. As the training continues, sweat begins to replace the cool morning air. Yet no one complains. Discipline means practicing on pleasant days and difficult ones alike. Rain, heat, or cold rarely changes the schedule. A castle depends upon people who are prepared before danger arrives, not after. The greatest victory for most samurai is never fighting at all. If their careful preparation prevents conflict, then their duty has already been fulfilled. The castle remains peaceful, its courtyards filled not with the sounds of war, but with the quiet rhythm of constant practice. Reminder that true readiness is built one ordinary morning at a time. Far from the quiet audience halls and training yards, another part of the castle has been busy since long before sunrise. The kitchen. It may not seem like the most exciting place in a samurai castle, but without it, the entire fortress would come to a halt. Hundreds of people live within these walls, and every one of them expects a meal before the day is over. As you step inside, warm air immediately surrounds you. Large iron pots bubble gently over open fires. Steam rises toward the dark wooden beams overhead, carrying the comforting aroma of freshly cooked rice. The crackling of firewood mixes with the steady rhythm of chopping, knives, and quiet conversation. Unlike modern kitchens, everything here is prepared by hand. Rice is washed several times before cooking. Vegetables are sliced with remarkable precision. Fresh fish delivered at dawn is carefully cleaned and salted. Nothing is wasted if it can still be used. The head cook moves calmly through the room, checking every pot with years of experience. He rarely raises his voice. The kitchen runs on routine rather than urgency, and every worker already knows exactly what must be done. Food also reflects social rank. The daimyo enjoys the finest ingredients and the most carefully presented meals. Senior samurai eat well, though more simply. Servants and laborers receive filling portions of rice, vegetables, soup, and preserved foods that provide enough energy for long hours of work. Luxury is surprisingly rare. Meals are designed to nourish rather than impress. Seasonal ingredients are highly valued, and the changing time of year influences nearly every menu. In spring, tender greens appear on the table. Summer brings lighter dishes, while autumn offers mushrooms and chestnuts. Winter favors warm soups and preserved vegetables stored for the colder months. Nearby, several women carefully prepare tea using polished ceramic bowls. Tea is more than a drink, it is a daily ritual that encourages patience, respect, and quiet reflection. Outside the kitchen, Workers carry wooden trays through the castle's winding corridors. Every delivery follows a schedule. A delayed meal could interrupt meetings, training, or official duties. Even during peaceful times, the kitchen prepares for emergencies. Large storehouses nearby contain thousands of sacks of rice, barrels of salt, dried fish, and other preserved foods. If the castle were surrounded during a siege, these supplies could feed its people for months. As you leave, the kitchen continues its steady rhythm. The fires remain burning. The knives continue chopping. The pots never seem to empty for long. It is easy to admire the warriors who protect the castle, but it is equally true that their strength begins here, beside these humble cooking fires, where every ordinary meal quietly helps sustain an entire fortress. As the morning slowly turns toward noon, you leave the warmth of the kitchens and follow a quiet corridor leading deeper into the castle. At first, nothing seems unusual. The wooden hallway is long, polished, and beautifully simple. Sunlight filters gently through paper shoshi screens, creating soft patterns across the floor. Every few steps, another sliding door opens into a peaceful room, decorated with tatami mats and painted screens. Then you hear it, a soft chirp, almost like a tiny bird hidden somewhere beneath the floorboards. You stop. The sound disappears. You take another step. Chirp. Another careful step. Chirp. The hallway itself seems to be singing. This is no accident. Many important castles were built with what are now called nightingale floors, hidden metal clamps beneath the wooden boards, rubbed together whenever someone walked across them, creating a gentle squeaking sound that resembled the call of a small bird. It was an ingenious security system. Unlike modern alarms, it required no guards to activate it and no complicated machinery. Anyone walking through the corridor, friend or stranger, would announce their presence with every step. For an intruder hoping to move silently, the floor became an impossible obstacle. Even the castle's own residents could not avoid making a little noise. Experienced servants learned to walk slowly and gracefully, but the cheerful chirping never completely disappeared. The sound soon became part of everyday life. As you continue along the hallway, you notice how narrow it feels. Sharp corners prevent anyone from seeing too far ahead. Heavy doors separate one section from another. Every part of the castle has been designed with both beauty and defense in mind. Nothing here is wasted. Even silence has been carefully planned. Outside, birds sing in the gardens. Inside, the wooden floors answer with songs of their own. It is strangely comforting. The castle seems alive, quietly listening to everyone who passes through its halls. For the people who live here, the chirping floors are simply another ordinary sound, as familiar as the wind or the temple bell. But to a visitor, they reveal an important truth. A samurai castle is more than stone walls and watchtowers. It is filled with clever ideas, hidden in plain sight details, so subtle that many guests never notice them until the floor itself begins to whisper beneath their feet. You leave the corridor with a small smile, the gentle chirping fading behind you as the castle continues its peaceful, watchful day. Leaving the echo of the wooden corridors behind, you step through a small gate into one of the castle's peaceful gardens. The change is immediate. The air feels cooler, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth. A gentle breeze stirs the leaves, while somewhere nearby, water trickles softly over smooth stones. After the careful routines inside the castle, the garden seems almost timeless. But like everything else here, it has been carefully planned. Every tree, every rock, and every winding path has been placed with purpose. What appears natural is actually the result of years of patient design. Gardeners trim each pine by hand, shaping its branches little by little over decades rather than days. Nothing grows by chance. A small pond rests at the center of the garden, its surface so still that it perfectly reflects the castle towers above. Bright koi glide lazily through the water, leaving gentle ripples that disappear almost as quickly as they appear. A simple wooden bridge crosses the pond. It is not grand or decorated with bright colors. Its beauty lies in its simplicity. Nearby, a stone lantern stands quietly beside the path. During festivals or evening gatherings, a small flame may glow inside it, but now it simply watches over the garden in silence. Several samurai stroll slowly along the gravel paths. They are not discussing battles. Instead, they speak softly about poetry, the weather, and the changing seasons. For many educated samurai, appreciating nature is considered just as important as mastering the sword. Strength and calm are expected to exist together. In one corner, a gardener carefully sweeps fallen leaves from the moss with the bamboo broom. The task seems endless. As soon as one area is clean, another leaf drifts gently to the ground. Yet the gardener never appears frustrated. The work itself is part of the reward. Looking around, you begin to understand why these gardens mattered so much. They offered a place to pause, to think, to breathe. Even within a heavily guarded fortress, people needed moments of quiet away from meetings, training, and responsibility. The garden reminds everyone that peace is something worth protecting. As the afternoon sun grows warmer, dragonflies skim across the pond, and the sound of distant training fades into the background. For a few peaceful moments, the castle no longer feels like a military stronghold. It simply feels like home. As the afternoon continues, your attention turns to a part of castle life that many old stories barely mention: the women who lived within these walls. Popular legends often focus only on samurai warriors, yet the castle depended on the work, knowledge, and discipline of countless women every single day. Many lived in the Joku, the private residential quarters reserved for the daimyos, family and trusted attendants. This area was quiet, carefully guarded, and separated from the busy parts of the castle. Here, life followed its own rhythm. Some women came from noble samurai families. Others served as attendants, caretakers, teachers, or ladies-in-waiting. Every role carried its own responsibilities, and each day followed a carefully organized routine. The morning was often spent caring for children, managing household affairs, preparing clothing, or assisting with official ceremonies. Fine silk robes were folded with great care, seasonal decorations were changed, and important guests were received according to strict etiquette. Education was also highly valued. Many noble women learned reading, writing, poetry, calligraphy, and the tea ceremony. These skills reflected both culture and discipline, qualities expected in the household of a powerful lord. Some women also trained for defense. Although they were not battlefield soldiers, many learned to use the naginata, a long pole weapon with a curved blade. If the castle were ever attacked, they could help protect their families and the inner residents until help arrived. The lessons required patience rather than strength, smooth movements, steady balance, calm concentration. As you walk through the quiet halls, you notice the sound of soft conversation behind paper screens. Somewhere nearby, children practice, writing careful brush strokes while an older teacher gently corrects their work. Elsewhere, an attendant prepares tea with slow, graceful movements. Every gesture has meaning and nothing is rushed. The atmosphere feels remarkably peaceful. Yet the women living here also understood the uncertainty of their world. If war reached the castle, their calm routines could change in a single day. Even so, they continued their duties with quiet dignity, helping preserve order within the household regardless of what happened beyond the walls. By the late afternoon, sunlight filters softly through the shoshi windows, filling the rooms with a warm, golden glow. The castle may be remembered for its warriors, but behind its strongest walls lived another community whose patience, education, and daily work quietly held the household together. Their stories are less famous, yet without them, life inside a samurai castle would never have been complete. As the afternoon slowly begins to fade, you follow a stone path toward one of the most carefully protected buildings inside the castle. From the outside, it looks surprisingly plain. Thick white plaster walls rise above a stone foundation, while heavy wooden doors are secured with iron fittings. There are only a few small windows, placed high enough to discourage unwanted visitors. This is the armory. Inside, the air is cool and dry. The room is quiet, carrying the faint scent of polished wood, leather, and lamp oil. Long wooden racks stretch from one end of the building to the other, each holding weapons arranged with remarkable care. Rows of spears stand upright like a silent forest. Bundles of arrows are tied neatly together, their feathered ends perfectly aligned. Curved boughs hang from wooden hooks, protected from moisture that could weaken the wood. Against another wall rest dozens of helmets and suits of armor. Each set belongs to a particular samurai. Small details such as family crests, colored cords, or decorative horns make every suit easy to recognize. Even in a large castle, no warrior would mistake another man's armor for his own. A pair of attendants quietly move through the room. One checks leather straps for signs of wear. Another wipes a helmet with a soft cloth before placing it carefully back on its stand. Weapons are never ignored simply because the castle is at peace. In fact, peaceful times often provide the best opportunity for maintenance. A neglected sword may rust. A damaged bow may snap. A cracked helmet may fail when it is needed most. Near the back of the armory, several wooden chests contain emergency supplies. extra bowstrings, bundles of rope, boxes of iron nails, even spare sandals for soldiers. Every item has been counted and stored, so it can be found quickly if danger suddenly arrives. You begin to notice something surprising. There are far more spears than swords. Although the katana has become the symbol of the samurai, real battles often relied more heavily on spears and bows. They offered greater reach and were better suited for fighting in large formations. The famous sword remained important, but it was not always the primary weapon. As the afternoon light slips through the small windows, tiny beams of sunlight fall across polished steel, making the blades shimmer without a sound. The room feels almost like a library, only instead of books it preserves the tools of war. Everything waits patiently, clean, organized, ready. Fortunately, another peaceful day passes without anyone needing to remove a single weapon from its place. And that, perhaps, is exactly how everyone inside the castle hopes tomorrow will begin as well. The afternoon sun begins its slow journey toward the horizon, painting the castle rooftops with warm shades of amber. For many people inside the castle, the busiest part of the day is ending. For the guards, it is only beginning. You climb a narrow wooden staircase leading to one of the castle's watchtowers. The steps are steep, forcing you to move carefully. At the top, the view opens in every direction. Beyond the walls lie green fields, quiet villages, winding rivers, and distant mountains fading into a blue haze. From here, almost nothing escapes notice. A small group of guards stand silently along the platform. Their eyes constantly scan the roads leading toward the castle. Most travelers are ordinary farmers, merchants, or messengers. Even so, every approaching figure is observed long before reaching the main gate. One guard slowly lifts a small spyglass. Another shades his eyes with a hand. No one speaks unless necessary. Silence makes it easier to notice unusual sounds, the gallop of a horse, the creak of a wagon, or the distant call of a warning horn. As daylight softens, the evening shift begins. Fresh guards arrive while the previous watch quietly reports everything they have seen throughout the day. Nothing is considered too small. A broken bridge, a group of unfamiliar travelers, smoke rising from a distant hillside. These details may seem unimportant now, but careful observation has prevented countless surprises over the years. Nearby, a bronze bell hangs beneath the tower roof. It marks the passing of time and can also warn the castle if danger appears. During peaceful evenings, however, it remains perfectly still. The wind is the only sound. Looking down into the courtyards below, you notice lanterns beginning to appear outside important buildings. Servants move calmly from one doorway to another, preparing the castle for night. The day's activity gradually slows, yet the castle never truly sleeps. Even after darkness falls, someone will always be watching. Someone will always be listening. The watchtower reminds you that peace is protected not only by strong walls, but by patient people willing to stand quietly for hours noticing the smallest changes in the world around them. As the sun finally slips behind the mountains, the first stars begin to appear overhead. The castle grows quieter with every passing minute, but high above the walls, the evening guard remains exactly where it should be, calm, alert, and ready for whatever tomorrow may bring. As the last light of day fades beyond the mountains, a quiet change begins throughout the castle. The gates are about to close. For most people, this is an ordinary part of daily life. But for anyone still outside the walls, it is a race against time. Once the heavy gates are shut, they will not be opened again unless there is an urgent reason. At the main entrance, guards take their positions. A final group of merchants and travelers passes through after their names, and business are carefully checked. Messengers returning from nearby villages hand over sealed letters before leading their tired horses to the stables. Then the signal is given. With a deep groan, the massive wooden gates begin to move. Several men push together, their footsteps echoing across the stone courtyard. Thick beams slide into place behind the doors, locking them securely for the night. The sound is slow, heavy, final. Outside, the world continues as usual. Inside, the castle becomes its own small community until morning. Torches and paper lanterns are lit one by one, casting a warm glow along wooden corridors and quiet pathways. Their gentle light dances across white plaster walls, making the fortress feel both welcoming and mysterious. Night guards replace the daytime watch. Unlike the busy hours before, they walk at a slower pace, listening more than speaking. Every corner, gate, and storage building is checked before the castle settles into silence. The kitchens prepare a simple evening meal for those still on duty. Stable workers feed the horses one final time. Servants slide wooden shutters closed against the cool night air. Even the gardens seem different now. The ponds reflect the rising moon, while crickets begin their steady evening song. The castle that bustled with activity only hours ago now feels calm, almost dreamlike. Yet security never relaxes. A small lantern burns beside each important doorway. The armory remains locked. The watchtowers stay occupied. Every precaution is taken, not because danger is expected, but because preparation has become a habit. You realize that closing the gates is more than a defensive measure. It marks the end of one day and the eve for Jinzei, beginning of another quiet night within these ancient walls. The people inside can finally rest, knowing that the castle stands ready until the first light of dawn returns once again. The castle has finally settled into the rhythm of the night. The lively sounds of the day have faded away, replaced by a peaceful silence broken only by the occasional chirp of insects and the gentle rustling of leaves in the evening breeze. Most of the residents have retired to their rooms. Tatami mats are rolled out for sleeping, paper lanterns are dimmed, and sliding shoshi doors are carefully closed. Families gather for a final cup of tea before the long day comes to an end. The air feels cooler now. Moonlight spills across the rooftops, turning the white castle walls almost silver. In the gardens, the koi ponds reflect the stars, disturbed only when a fish quietly rises to the surface. A pair of night guards begins their patrol. They carry small lanterns that cast soft circles of light onto the wooden walkways. Their footsteps are slow and measured, allowing them to hear every sound around them. The famous nightingale floors sing beneath their feet. A gentle chirp follows each step, reminding everyone that the castle itself is always awake. The guards stop from time to time, listening carefully. A breeze through the bamboo, the distant hoot of an owl, the creaking of old timber as the buildings cool after a warm day. Every sound has become familiar through years of experience. Nothing seems out of place. Elsewhere, a temple bell echoes faintly across the valley. Its deep tone drifts through the night before fading into silence once more. For a few peaceful moments, the entire fortress seems to pause. Even the horses in the stable stand quietly, occasionally shifting their weight or softly snorting before settling again. Inside the daimyo's residence, only a few lanterns remain lit. Trusted attendants finish their final duties before bowing respectfully and leaving the halls empty until morning. The castle has become a world of shadows and soft light. Its walls no longer feel imposing. Instead, they offer comfort, protecting everyone sleeping safely inside. Looking up, the sky is filled with countless stars. Without the bright lights of modern cities, the night feels wonderfully clear. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a pale river of light, reminding you how small even the grandest castle is beneath the endless sky. As midnight approaches, the fortress grows even quieter. Tomorrow, the kitchens will light their fires once again. The guards will change shifts. The gardens will welcome another sunrise. But for now, everything rests. And wrapped in the cool night air, the samurai castle gently watches over its sleeping world until dawn quietly returns. Before the castle can greet another sunrise, there is one more place worth visiting. Away from the grand halls and peaceful gardens stand several plain-looking buildings with thick white walls and heavy wooden doors. These are the storehouses. At first glance, they seem unremarkable, but they contain some of the castle's greatest treasures. Inside, the air is cool and dry. Small windows allow just enough light to enter while protecting the supplies from rain and humidity. Everything is carefully arranged on wooden shelves or stacked inside sturdy barrels. The most valuable resource is not gold. It is rice. Hundreds of sacks are piled neatly from floor to ceiling. Rice feeds the castle, pays many samurai for their service, and serves as a measure of wealth throughout much of feudal Japan. A well-stocked granary is a sign of stability and good leadership. Nearby stand barrels of salt, an essential ingredient for preserving food. Without refrigeration, salt helps keep fish and vegetables edible for weeks or even months. Bundles of dried seaweed hang from wooden beams. Large jars hold soy sauce and fermented pastes. Nothing is stored carelessly. Every item has its place. Several officials quietly inspect the supplies by lantern light. They record how much has been used and how much remains. Careful records help ensure the castle can survive difficult winters or even a long siege if necessary. In another section, spare clothing, blankets, ropes, candles, and farming tools are stored for future use. Some objects may remain untouched for years, yet they are inspected regularly. Preparation is considered wiser than panic. A tiny cat slips between the sacks of rice. Its job is simple: keep the mice away. Even the smallest creature has an important role in protecting the castle's precious food. Outside, the night remains peaceful. The cool breeze carries the scent of pine trees across the quiet courtyard, while a watchman's lantern glows softly in the distance. Standing here, you realize that a castle is supported by far more than soldiers and walls. It depends upon planning, organization, and countless ordinary tasks completed without praise. The storehouses may never appear in heroic legends, but without them, no castle could survive for very long. Sometimes history is protected not only by brave warriors, but also by carefully counted bags of rice waiting patiently in the dark. As the night grows deeper, there is one final place where a few lanterns still glow: the castle bathhouse. After a long day of meetings, training, cooking, and patrols, many residents come here to wash away the dust of the day. In feudal Japan, bathing is not simply about cleanliness. It is also a time for quiet reflection and peaceful routine. The bathhouse stands slightly apart from the busiest buildings. Warm steam escapes through small wooden vents, carrying the fresh scent of cedar into the cool evening air. Inside, attendants have already prepared the baths. Large wooden tubs are filled with steaming water, carefully heated over nearby fires. Buckets and ladles are neatly arranged along the walls, waiting for the next visitor. Unlike modern baths, everyone washes themselves thoroughly before entering the hot water. Small wooden stools line the washing area, where people quietly rinse away dirt using buckets of warm water and simple cloths. Only after they are completely clean do they step into the bath. The water is wonderfully warm. After the cool evening outside, it feels almost magical. Conversations are soft and unhurried. There is no shouting or laughter echoing through the room. Most people simply relax in silence, letting the warmth ease tired muscles after another ordinary day inside the castle. Some samurai discuss tomorrow's training. Others remain completely quiet, watching gentle clouds of steam drift toward the ceiling. Even rank matters less here than in many other parts of the castle, though proper etiquette is always observed. Nearby, attendants replace cooling water with fresh hot water to keep the temperature comfortable. The wooden floors are kept spotless, and every tool is returned to its proper place before the last guest leaves. Cleanliness is considered a sign of discipline as much as comfort. As you sit beside the warm bath, you begin to understand why this simple ritual has remained an important part of Japanese life for centuries. It offers a chance to slow down, to breathe, to let the worries of the day quietly fade away. Outside, the moon continues its silent journey across the sky. Inside, the bathhouse glows with gentle lantern light and rising steam. For a little while, the castle forgets about walls, weapons, and watchtowers. It becomes simply a place where ordinary people find a moment of peace before another sunrise begins. Not every day inside a samurai castle is shaped by duty alone. From time to time, the quiet rhythm of work gives way to something brighter, a festival. These celebrations are rarely loud or extravagant, but they bring a welcome change to daily life. Whether marking the arrival of spring, a successful harvest, or an important occasion in the daimyo's household, the festival reminds everyone that peace deserves to be celebrated. By late afternoon, colorful banners hang from wooden balconies, gently moving in the breeze. Fresh flowers decorate the entrance to important halls, while paper lanterns are carefully prepared for the evening ahead. Servants work with cheerful determination. The kitchens prepare special dishes that appear only on festive days. Sweet rice cakes, grilled fish, seasonal vegetables, and delicate sweets are arranged on lacquered trays with great care. Children are the first to notice the excitement. Dressed in their finest robes, they run across the courtyards under the watchful eyes of their parents, laughing more freely than usual. Nearby, musicians gather beneath a wooden pavilion. The soft notes of a bamboo flute drift through the garden, joined by the steady rhythm of a hand drum. The music is calm rather than dramatic, perfectly matching the peaceful mood of the castle. As evening approaches, a small performance begins. Dancers move gracefully across a polished wooden stage, their slow, deliberate movements telling stories from old legends and heroic tales. The audience watches in respectful silence, appreciating every carefully practiced gesture. The daimyo and his family observe from a place of honor, while senior samurai and their households sit nearby according to rank. Even during celebration, etiquette remains important. As darkness falls, the lanterns are lit one by one. Their warm glow reflects in the garden ponds, making the entire castle seem softer than usual. For a little while, thoughts of patrols, meetings, and military duties fade into the background. People share food, exchange quiet conversations, and enjoy the rare gift of an untroubled evening. Looking around, you realize that these peaceful moments are just as much a part of history as battles and sieges. A castle is not only a fortress, it is also a home. And on nights like this, its strongest walls protect not just the people inside, but also their laughter, traditions, and treasured memories. As the festival comes to an end, silence slowly returns to the castle. The last lanterns continue to glow softly, while servants clear away dishes and decorations. Families head indoors, and the laughter that filled the courtyards fades into the cool night air. For most people, the day is over, but for the castle guards, the night has only begun. Fresh watchmen take their positions along the walls and towers. Each carries a spear or bow, carefully scanning the darkness beyond the gates. The castle never truly sleeps. Small patrols move quietly through the corridors, checking gates, storehouses, and important buildings. Their footsteps echo gently across the wooden floors. The moon rises above the rooftops, covering the castle in silver light. The gardens become calm and mysterious. The ponds mirror the stars, while the wind stirs the leaves of old pine trees. Inside the residence, most rooms are dark. Only a few oil lamps remain lit where scribes finish records or servants prepare for the next morning. The Daimyo has already retired. His closest guards remain nearby, alert throughout the night. Their duty is simple: protect their lord until sunrise. Far below, the town outside the castle is also growing quiet. Only an occasional dog barks in the distance or a traveler hurries home before the gates close. Standing on the highest tower, you look across the peaceful landscape. It is difficult to imagine that this same castle could become a battlefield if danger ever returned. Yet that is the purpose of every wall, gate, and watchtower. Peace exists because someone remains prepared. As midnight passes, the stars shine even brighter. The guards continue their silent rounds without complaint. When the first light of dawn finally appears on the horizon, another day is ready to begin. The castle has safely watched over everyone through the night. Its walls have done their job once again. As dawn breaks over the castle, a new day begins much like the last. Guards change shifts. Servants prepare breakfast. The kitchens fill with the smell of fresh rice and soup. Children practice their lessons, while samurai return to training. Life inside the castle continues with quiet discipline. Years pass. Seasons change. Some castles grow larger, while others face wars, fires, or natural disasters. Yet every generation leaves behind something valuable. Not only stronger walls or taller towers, but traditions, skills, and stories. The samurai castles of Japan were far more than military fortresses. They served as homes, centers of government, places of learning, and symbols of responsibility. Every stone, wooden beam, and carefully designed garden reflected the values of the people who lived there. Even after the age of the samurai came to an end, many castles survived. Today, visitors from around the world walk through their gates, climb their towers, and admire the craftsmanship that has endured for centuries. Some castles have been carefully restored. Others remain as quiet ruins, reminding us that even the strongest buildings cannot escape the passage of time. Yet their spirit lives on in books, in paintings, in films, and in the memories of those who continue to preserve their history. As your journey comes to an end, one lesson becomes clear. A castle is remembered not simply because it stood strong against enemies, but because it protected a way of life. Its greatest strength was never just its walls. It was the courage, discipline, loyalty, and dedication of the people who called it home. And that is the true legacy of the samurai castle.